You know, there are many people throughout history that have showcased various talents. From strength of arms, magical might, or technological prowess, many people have risen above their peers through rugged determination and having a clear vision for themselves. The variety of members within the Scions of the Seventh Dawn could each serve as an example of such individuals. But today, let us focus on a Matoya who's dedicated her life to understanding the mysteries of magic and aether. She's studied under some of the most respected mages in the world and could arguably stand amongst them these days. Today, my friends, let us come together and understand the exotic life of Y'shtola Rhul. Like all her many siblings, Y'shtola was born to the Matoya's Y tribe, which was stationed around the Sharlayan colony in the Dravanian hinterlands at the time of her birth. These Seekers of the Sun had gained a good reputation with the Sharlayan people and were more or less considered official citizens. As is tradition for the Seekers of the Sun, Y'shtola would be born into the Y tribe alongside 11 other sisters and a handful of brothers. But even at her younger age, Y'shtola showed a remarkable connection to aether and an almost instinctive understanding of magic. Rumors persisted that she was loved by aether itself, and as such had a gift for spellcraft that few could match. The people of Sharlayan never allow such natural-born skill to go to waste. So when Y'shtola was only 7 years old, she was sent to study under one of the wisest archmages in the colony, the archon known as Matoya. Initially, Matoya was furious. She saw this young Matoya as nothing more than a burden that was forced onto her by the other archons of Sharlayan, with whom she never really got along with. For the most part, she saw Y'shtola's presence as nothing more than babysitting, but decided she'd scare the girl away with constant chores and tedious tasks. Yet, no matter what demands Matoya made or how pointed her word choice was, Y'shtola didn't back down. Even as a child, she displayed a sense of stubborn duty which didn't see her back down from a challenge. Eventually, even the grouchy Matoya was shocked at how determined this little kitten was. Despite her mentor's almost constant bullying, she never gave up and persevered in spite of it all. It was after Y'shtola completed a series of tasks that would have made most adults quit that Matoya started to become fond of the child in her care. Most likely, the Archon started to see a kindred spirit in the young mage, and realized that Y'shtola's stubborn nature wasn't too unlike her own. This caused Matoya to relax a great deal around her new apprentice, and instead of finding new ways to try and shoo her away, the Archon did her best to try and teach her properly. This turned out to be a perfect match, as Y'shtola's gift for ethereal manipulation was able to keep up with Matoya's mastery of the arcane. Y'shtola would study under her master for about a decade, and in that time, Matoya came to love her apprentice. They became so close that Matoya even started calling her student Y'shtola. To those that are unaware, calling a Seeker of the Sun by name without their starting letter is considered extremely disrespectful. While usually restricted to blood relatives, other people these Matoya see as close as family are allowed to skip the first letter without incident, showing just how close Matoya and Y'shtola had become. Eventually, these years of intense training would come to an end as the Garleans began their invasion of Eorzea via Alamigo. Sharlayan attempted a diplomatic solution with the Empire, but this didn't go over well. When they realized that the Empire's goal was world domination, the Forum decided to evacuate the colony in Dravania and return everyone back to the Sharlayan homeland. Everyone except Matoya. The Forum insisted that Matoya was the only Sharlayan strong enough and smart enough to keep their colony's secrets out of hostile hands. But everyone knew what this was all about. They simply wanted to get rid of someone they couldn't control. Matoya was glad to be rid of what she considered to be Sharlayan cowardice, and stayed behind in her cave happily. But she believed that Y'shtola should go back to the Sharlayan motherland with her family, the Y tribe, and finish her studies at the studium. Y'shtola, who was in her late teens at this point, reluctantly agreed and sailed with her family to the Sharlayan homeland. Thanks to the training of her mentor, Y'shtola not only graduated from the studium quickly, but became an Archon as well. However, during her time in Sharlayan, she started to make friends with people that would change her life. One of the people she became extremely close to was an Alamegan refugee named Ida. Ida had fled west and ended up in Sharlayan after the Garlean invasion of Alamigo. Y'shtola respected Ida's blunt yet optimistic nature, and the two became the best of friends. Ida would even teach her friend how to be more social, since most of Y'shtola's early years were spent in a cave with a witch. During her time with Ida in Old Sharlayan, Y'shtola would learn all sorts of things about herself, like her fascination with shoes and her phobia for monsters known as the Eorzea. But Y'shtola was becoming restless. Between the stories of Garlemald's invasion from Ida and the knuckle-dragging politics that Matoya warned her about, Y'shtola was getting impatient and was looking for a way to use her talents to help the world. It was around this time that she met the man that would give her life the change she was looking for, Archon Y'shtola Rhul. Despite his rivalry with Matoya, Y'shtola took Y'shtola on as a disciple, which would see her not only open up to him, but all his other students as well. After realizing that the Forum was prepared to sit idly by forever, Y'shtola decided to take action. He took 12 of his most trusted disciples and formed a group called the Circle of Knowing, and their goal was to use all of their knowledge and skills to save as many lives as possible. Y'shtola joined the Circle of Knowing with Ida as they prepared to travel to Eorzea and apply what they had learned. The time that she had spent in Sharlayan were years that she'd never forget, as the young student would eventually mature into a beautiful woman and a remarkable mage. Despite being good friends with the other members of the circle, such as Rambaros Zassertilsen, Mumbrida Wilfsenvin, and Urianje Agrelt, Y'shtola usually traveled alone. It can be assumed she adopted this lone wolf mentality from her master, Matoya. For the next 10 years, she would work as a member of the circle, becoming close with the other 11 disciples as time passed. Y'shtola proved to be so smart and proficient with magic that she earned a reputation amongst the leaders of Eorzea's various city-states, often getting the chance to speak with powerful individuals on a regular basis. But one city-state that she always ended up returning to was Limsa. It was here that she had many misadventures with pirates and monsters, but eventually would become instrumental in helping Admiral Merlweb get her grand company off the ground, the Maelstrom. It was around this time that she and the other members of the Circle of Knowing realized that a powerful group called the Scions were silently pulling the strings behind the curtain, and Y'shtola was determined to discover what they were after and why. But this investigation needed to be put on hold, as she and the entirety of Eorzea would be under attack from the Garlean Empire. Y'shtola would be caught up in the events that would eventually see to the end of the Sixth Astral Era. She worked with Y'shtola, her friends, political leaders, and hardy adventurers to try and put an end to the Empire's ambitions. But all this came to a devastating end as Dalamud descended upon the world, releasing Bahamut and ushering in the 7th Umbral Calamity. Her second mentor, Y'shtola, sacrificed himself to put an end to Bahamut's rampage, saving Eorzea, but leaving the Circle of Knowing without its leader. It was after the Battle of Cartano that the surviving members of the Circle realized that Y'shtola had planned for his demise, and had left one of their allies, Minfilia Ward, with a sort of last will and testament. In this plan, Y'shtola outlined his desires for the Circle of Knowing to join hands with the Echo users in Minfilia's organization, and to become a new order. Thusly, the Circle of Knowing all agreed and joined forces with the Path of the 12, and with their powers united, they became the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. Around her late 20s, Y'shtola Rhul was a founding member of the Scions, and continued her work across Eorzea same as before. But now she was acting to help the city-states recover from the events of Bahamut's release, and gathering allies in what she thought to be the real fight that she saw on the horizon. 5 years would pass since Bahamut's wrath was felt across the land, and the Scions were still hard at work trying to help Eorzea as best as it could. By now, Y'shtola was in her early 30s, and had become one of the most respected mages in all of Eorzea. But exactly 5 years after the fall of Dalamud, she began to meet promising adventurers whose ideals aligned with hers and her fellow Scions. She would advise said adventurers, and over time, go through many more life-changing events with them. And that, my friends, is the early life of Y'shtola Rhul. I've many documents outlining her escapades with the Scions of the Seventh Dawn in recent times, but I felt I'd save those for another day instead of letting this lesson run on longer than necessary. But speaking of time, many people seem to be under the impression that Y'shtola is only 23 summers old, which would be impressive considering she spent 10 years studying under Matoya, another 10 years as a member of the Circle of Knowing, and then spent an additional 5 years helping Eorzea through the 7th Umbral Calamity. It's quite interesting how only a few people know her true age, especially when you factor in her mentor, Matoya, as no one knows the age of that old Archon anymore. And if you value your life, I wouldn't ask her. But while we may laugh at our age, Y'shtola doesn't joke around with her research and experiments involving magic and aether. Over time, she's managed to combine multiple spell schools into an arcane style unique to her, and that's not even getting into her grasp of aetheric theory. She's brilliant, clever, and while she carries herself with confidence, she's always eager to learn something new. Likewise, there is much that can be learned from her as well. So, if you ever find yourself in her company, I'd suggest a trade of knowledge. From what I hear, Y'shtola is always fond of a good story. But, until next we meet, stay safe, my friends. Hello everyone! Thank you so much for watching till the end of the video. I know you all are tired of hearing this, but if you really want to show me some love, liking the video, subscribing to the channel, or even just leaving a comment would do wonders for me. It lets me know I'm doing a good job and helps me reach even more people. But to those that really want to go above and beyond helping me and the channel, I have created a Patreon, links in the description. Speaking of Patreon, big shout out to Vivalis Oma, Valen, Runatir, Potato, Monsolo97, and Rovakis. Thank you all so much for your combined support, it's amazing. But that being said, I'm so happy you stayed and watched through my content. I'll always be putting out material so long as you want to watch it. That being said, I need to start working on the next video. Till then, stay safe my friends.